this case is devoted to cetaceans, entirely cetaceans. I don't think there are any other marine mammals in here. And I think it has good historical connections with St Andrews, as well as being interesting in its own right, because D'Arcy Thompson, who was Professor of Natural History until 1948, he had strong connections with the Dundee whalers. And I think that's probably where he got these horrible implements which they used.
Well, I've always been interested in insects and really found the variety of insects most amazing. But when I started my PhD, I went to the Pyrenees in French meadows to look at insects, and I always remember coming across one of these, an Ascalaphus.
Well, when I first came here in 1979 and came in here for the first time, this was probably the most striking display for me, because in many senses it encapsulates me as a biologist, but also explains a lot about why this museum is important, because these are local specimens collected only 5-6 miles from here.
The twisting is also interesting. Just occasionally you get narwhals, very often female ones, which develop tusks also, but have two of them, both great big ones sticking out of the head. And in that case, instead of being symmetrical, as you might expect, they both...
And I will go to my grave remembering standing on a mountain top looking for grasshoppers and hearing a sound and turning around and seeing a swarm of these flying. I think it was males lekking, and they were iridescent in the sunshine, and they made this fantastic sound.
We can see in fossil specimens some of these, 300 million years old, and the relationship they have to living organisms today.
And that tendency to twist puts a torque or a tension on the roots of the incisor, which leads it to actually twist the tooth as it comes out. And this would explain why both of these incisors are twisted in the same way rather than symmetrically, because the tendency of the whale is to twist round in that particular direction as it swims through the water.
The only evolutionary study I've said has pointed out that they can only see in the ultraviolet. So I'd love to know more about their mating behaviour, but I've barely been able to find a paper about them. Absolutely amazing animals.
In every sense, it kind of encapsulates for me what I find driving in biology, which is understanding how living organisms interact with their environment today, but also realising that they come from a long evolutionary history, and we can actually see these right in front of your eyes today, and these are local.
All these things seem to be fascinating about whales. They're illustrated very nicely in this particular case, and the connection with D'Arcy Thompson through the flensing tools and through the narwhal tusks and the Dundee whalers is a very strong one. I think this case was probably, most of the contents of it was probably actually set up by the great man in the first half of the 20th century when he was Professor of Natural History.